The Edmonton Oilers have a prime opportunity to break the Canadian curse, but they will have to go through juggernauts like the Dallas Stars and one of the Florida Panthers or the New York Rangers. Today we will predict and preview the NHL Conference Finals, and we also take a look at what's next for the eliminated playoff teams. The Edmonton Oilers have defeated the Vancouver Canucks in 7 games and round out the 4 teams for the NHL Conference Finals. And this one hurts. I have to try to get it out properly, but I can't. I genuinely can't.
More on the Canucks later, and all the eliminated teams, we'll talk about it later. But right now, we'll just recap some of the last couple of games that happened and just go into the predictions and the matchups of each side. So yeah, Stanley Cup rounding down officially starts on Wednesday. The Eastern Conference first, and then the Western Conference. Let's start off with the West, but like you mentioned, let's get to the game 6-7 with the Canucks Oilers.
So coming off probably the greatest performance the Canucks put up this season, in Game 5. Well, postseason, yeah, but I'll say this season just because it was, the stakes as well. The Vancouver Canucks had an absolute stinker in Game 6 where they got absolutely dominated 5-1, I believe. And that was the only game this series that wasn't a 1-goal game. And following up to Game 7, it was kind of the similar story, especially in the second period, where the Edmonton Oilers just took over, starting off with CC, then Bouchard, then a power play goal by Nugent Hopkins, and it just felt like the Canucks were defeated at this point. They did show the resilience in the third period, like they always do, but this time, a 3-goal third period is going to be too much for them as well, because it worked Nashville, Game 4, they had to score 2 goals. Game 1, they had to score 2 goals to tie. Obviously, they took the third for the lead.
Well, they were down 4-1, but two in the third period.
Yeah, they needed 2 at least, and they got 3, obviously, winning 5-4. But this time, 3 in the third period, tired legs, no Brock Besser.
Yeah,
and it just did not look good for the Canucks. All credit goes to the Oilers. They woke up. We kind of saw their dominance, and it just felt like in Game 7, the Canucks, especially in the first period, I don't know if you noticed it. I didn't really say it. There was a loop. There was a cycle that the Canucks were playing in the last 12 minutes of the period where Edmonton attacks, Canucks defend. They defend well. They clear. They change. Edmonton attack.
Yeah.
Defend, clear, change for like 12 minutes of the last 12 minutes of the first period. That's kind of was a cycle for the Vancouver Canucks.
That's the issue. That was the opposite in Game 5 where they went aggressive. And so I don't know what happened in Game 6 where they decided to go back off. And then Game 7, I think a lot happened in a sense that I think 2 things happened, 2 big things. One, literally the night before we found out the Brock Besser news, and it was not injury related. That
was for Game 7.
Yeah, I'm talking about Game 7 right now.
Okay, yeah.
So Brock Besser, blood clots in his leg. Everybody knows that's a serious thing. We saw it happen with Freddie Anderson earlier this year, I believe. Chris Bosh's career ended because of it. So thankfully, first off, the most important thing is it's not career-ending or life-threatening, but still a serious thing. And if you're, arguably your best player in the playoffs, right, between him and Lindholm and Miller probably, but your leading goal scorer is gone, shit changes, and that obviously in a factor like that going down, yes, there is a next man up mentality. I'm not making an excuse for the Canucks, but listening to Elliot Friedman say it possibly was a shock factor where a lot of changes had to be made, right? Because of that, lineups got changed again. Miller and PD played together. They played well, in my opinion, but
I agree. They played well.
Added Mcdavid to that line. Maybe you only did that because of the defense side of things, but then when you look at offensively, if that was Höglander with them, let's just say,
or Besser.
Yeah, but that, we knew he was up. If you put Höglander or Garland or whatever in that moment, Garland would have been tough at the first period, but if that was Höglander, I think he probably would have scored that because he had the better handles or stick.
And Mcdavid actually got by Skinner. He got by it. He was behind the defense already.
Yeah.
He got by Skinner. It was just a matter of, converting. It's not like Skinner saved it. It's not like his stick got lifted or deflected.
So because of that, because the line changes, you kind of went safe mode again like you were. And then the other thing is I feel like the confidence shattered as soon as that 4-minute power play ended. And I'm not saying, it's not even the fact that they didn't score. I think that even if they had generated chances, like how Edmonton did in their first power play opportunity, the confidence still would have been high and they would have attacked. Because they couldn't get zone entries, and we'll talk about Quinn Hughes later as well, because I believe he was playing injured in this series because he wasn't the greatest. His version, the Norris version of himself, and a lot of that is probably because of the beating he took in Nashville series. I feel like their mentality just went like, we might have to go down. And on top of that, listen, the Seelovs played great. Nothing to do with Seelovs. But again, 10 game, this is his 10th game in the NHL, I believe, or 10th playoff game, overall 15th NHL game experience.
10 already, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then the issue with him is like, I feel like if Demko wasn't there, you would have been a bit more open because A, you know his tendencies, B, you trust him behind him. With Seelovs, you're automatically thinking he'll make this big close save. His weakness was the long distance shots. Like a lot of the Oilers' goals were from the point, whether it got tipped in and he had to look around the screen, and that's how literally the CC goal and the Hyman goal, which was tipped off Bouchard's shot, caused it. And then, like, listen, the Canucks are playing a little reserved, and there's no doubt about it. The better team won. The better team,
the favorite one,
and the better team on the playoffs did win because, like, yeah, the Canucks played a lot of smash and grab a little bit outside of Game 5, which is unfortunate. If PD played better, or if Demko wasn't there, we could have been a different story right now. And we'll talk about the Canucks later, off-season wise, like what could be at stake, because it was a lost opportunity. Hurts with the injuries and the Besser situation, but performance-wise a little bit.
Yeah, so, after that, I'm not going to say anything about Seelovs. I love Seelovs.
Yeah.
And, absolute game stoppers, robberies, 2 robberies by Arthur Seelovs. Absolute incredible performance by him. One of the best rookie goalie runs I have witnessed.
Since Demko, probably.
Since Demko. Obviously, Oranger had a good run against
the
first series against Calgary. Binnington was obviously, like, the best. But, yeah, Arthur Seelovs did his job. No blame goes to him at all for Game 7 because
the Canucks had to play a different style. But he performed well.
But Game 7, that was everyone else but Seelovs. It's just simple as that. You can't ask anything. That was a Demko performance, what Seelovs did in Game 7. And that is on the Vancouver Canucks forwards. I don't give a shit if they have to adjust or all that stuff. He made the saves. He made the robberies. Yes, he has his weakness on long shots. You said that. But let's get into this offense quickly. And it just starts off with Brock Besser being out. Besser is a JT Miller partner, right? JT Miller set up Ilya Mikheyev. And then in the third period, we saw PD
set up
DiGiuseppe. If your number one goal scorer is on that ice in those two situations, those are 2 goals right there.
Yeah.
And $4.75 million, I believe, for Ilya Mikheyev to have 1 goal in his last 60 games or 58 games, whatever it is.
0 points in the playoffs, I believe.
0 points in the playoffs and
scratched.
And has been healthy scratched. It has not been a good signing. Obviously, injuries do play a part in that. And he just has not stepped up at all. And it's not just him. Obviously, a lot of the forwards were pretty bad. Well, obviously, Pettersson was being probably the biggest one. But overall, like, after Miller, after Lindholm and Garland, I don't see anyone. Joshua had only 2 good games offensively in this playoffs, which was Game 1 of both series. And it's overall, this team did not show up offensively. And that just what costed them, this series overall.
We'll talk about more of the Canucks later because there's obviously, as fans' perspective, we'll talk about that, what it meant to the city, what Talkett's comments were after. But let's talk about the Oilers. And I need to give out maybe correct myself a little bit. Just a massive shout out to, like, Evan Bouchard, right? Like, I was clowning it a little bit when Jason Gregor, I believe, said he's, like, on par with Quinn Hughes. In this series, he was the best defender, right? He was the best defenseman. He had the one mistake in Game 5, which was it could have costed the whole series. It didn't. And, he got goals. He was the better offensive defenseman for sure. He's getting better defensively. Him, and then on top of that, Draisaitl was, like, the best forward in this playoffs because Mcdavid was not Mcdavid at all. Yet, he still got 9 points. And he was clutch in terms of primary assists in Game 6. So, but no, the key thing was, like, the defenseman scoring, especially Evan Bouchard. He stepped up massively. It showed that why Gregor made that comparison of him and Hughes offensively.
Let's just say this, right? With Bouchard's play in this series, that conversation is not, as crazy as it once was.
The difference, though, is one guy has playoff experience, the other guy didn't have much. So, obviously, we'll find out.
And there's one more difference I'm not going to hate, but I'm just going to get it off my chest. Evan Bouchard is not the one who drives play. Connor McDavid does.
True.
For the Vancouver Canucks, Quinn Hughes is the one who drives play as a defenseman.
Yeah.
That's just
fair.
One difference, I would say.
And, so that's the reason why. But the other thing with Edmonton is that these last 2 games, especially the way they played, defensively, right? We saw it against the Kings game with the 1-0 win. They stepped up. They played. They were like the Nashville Predators, especially, right? Blocking shots. Like the Canucks didn't get shots on net on Skinner. When they did, a couple of them went in. He made the saves when he needed to. The issue was they couldn't get them on net, whether they were blocked or whether they were missed, whether they just had it right at Skinner, like it was an easy save for him. And Knoblauch had to make shout out to him. He made the decision to take out Skinner, refresh his mind, come back in. Yeah, it helps that you're, and it shows the defense like, hey, we need you to step up because we don't have an elite goaltender. May not have said that directly, but indirectly saying like, listen, we don't have an elite goaltender. We need you to step up defensively. And they did that these last 2 games, right? Yes, they were weathering the storm in game 7. Yet they still were fine because they were able to get in and get out. Just it was their thing.
It was like how the Canucks played in game 3 in the third period, where like defensively, it was kind of what the Edmonton Oilers did in the third period. You know, nothing too dangerous. Oh yes, they got goals, but they were like, you know, one was a point shot by Hronek, another one was Garland. Again, they were just
good shots. A giveaway.
Yeah, they were just good shots. Yeah, Garland was a giveaway. But overall, like I said, nothing high danger. Not there was no like we saw an empty nets or like Skinner had to be scrambling the whole time. Skinner was calm. The defense was calm. And I will give a comparison right here. This Edmonton Oilers defense, you know, being their weakness, has now become an asset. I said that for the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA playoffs. It's the same thing. And this propels their chances. You know, they won it. They've shown in these playoffs they could win in different ways, whether it be just pure offensive dominance or grind it out defensively and hold on to leads. And they've done both. But
that being said, they did struggle. An overall factor, Connor McDavid did struggle. We'll talk about the series matchup in a second. I don't expect him to. But Dallas Mavericks had a blueprint now what the Canucks did with McDavid.
Stars now. Wasn't that technically?
Sorry, you said Mavericks. The Dallas Stars have the blueprint of what to do, potentially to slow down a guy like McDavid. And they have the better goalie, right, as well. And they have the better depth than the Canucks, and the Oilers still struggle to claw it out, right? They blow leads. They showed kind of they were about to blow a lead. It was just like it happened to be a little later the Canucks got going because the Canucks played a horrible 50 minutes until the last 10 minutes. So let's talk about that, the other side right now, Dallas, Colorado. And Colorado, again, we'll talk about them later. The stuff changed when the Nichushkin news happened, and Elliot Friedman had a good comparison that, listen, the Nichushkin, as different situations, very different thing, but coming out of nowhere, literally the day of or the game before or the day before, you got dropped with that news. They come out and they get owned in game 4. And then game 5, they bounce back a little bit.
They didn't really get owned. It wasn't that bad of a game.
It was like 5-1. From what I'm saying, like that was like their absolute worst performance in game 4.
I know, but it was actually tight, like for like most part of the game.
But
from what I remember was.
Yeah, maybe the Canucks needed like a buffer game in between because then the game 5 they performed really well, but then in game 6 they ended up losing in overtime, I believe. And Colorado?
Yeah, Colorado, yeah.
But for that one, like I said, they're just, for me, a glorified Edmonton. 2 stud offensive players, a much better defenseman than Ivan Bouchard and Cale Makar.
And the defense group in general.
Yeah, and the defenses both were fine. Colorado's defense is better. Goaltending, you could say, was the same, however you want to say it. So for me, it was just a better Edmonton in that sense. But
well, not really. They're the same. What makes it better if Gabriel Landeskog was healthy? That's what would have made it better.
True.
But overall, it's the same.
But with that being said,
as simple as this, like, you know, Dallas's depth showed up, right? And obviously, you know, with Nichushkin hit, Dallas Stars were the favorite coming into the series. You know, they themselves were struggling to hold on to leads. They made games closer than they should have.
Yeah.
But overall, the Stars got the job done, and they are looking like, in my opinion, the best team in the playoffs. Obviously, you know, Rangers and Panthers have a shout, but the Dallas Stars faced the best competition.
Yeah. And
knocked out 2 juggernauts, 2 contenders, you know, when they're on their game, which is the Vegas Golden Knights in 7 games, coming back from an 0-2 deficit, and obviously now the Colorado Avalanche. Yes, you know, things fell in their favor with Nichushkin and obviously Landeskog being out. But overall, this Dallas Stars team has been on an incredible run, and I think this could, if they win the Cup this year, I think this is one of the best NHL runs in terms of the competition they have to face.
Yeah, like they got, like you said, your depth first. Matt Duchene had an amazing game 6.
Bro, he killed overtime. He killed it.
We're not going to talk about, like, really, because it's been too long now, but I think he was robbed of a goal early.
They won 3-1 in overtime.
Essentially, yeah. Because I think that was a goal. I see why they didn't give it, because you don't want to end on a controversy. But It could have cost them, but it didn't. Thankfully for them, it did not. And they were happy that this Dallas series went to 7. Overall, we'll talk about Colorado later. Let's talk about the matchup now. I know we spent more time on the Canucks Oilers because Canadian matchup, and obviously we were involved with the Canucks side of things. But
the Oilers Stars.
Question off the bat, or rhetorical question, we'll answer it later, but just for the audience. Is this the year a Canadian team will win the cup? And we had that discussion before the playoffs started.
Like we said before the playoffs, this is the best chance.
Yeah.
And I still stand by that because of this run that the Oilers have been on. They have been healthy, right? They're still relatively healthy, right? Where Stars are facing a Hintz injury, which is obviously a massive piece for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
Point number 2 is that we've seen Oilers win in multiple ways, which we have never seen really before. And their weakness is not really a liability anymore, which is the defending and goaltending. Obviously, goaltending is still a question mark.
Still a question mark.
But we've seen them grind it out, right? We've seen Skinner perform in these playoffs. We've seen Skinner not perform in these playoffs. And then with all that question marks, with all those, things, they still found a way to win. They still found a way to make it to the conference finals. And obviously, this is the toughest team they're going to face so far. Don't get me wrong, because, Kings and Canucks are nowhere at the level of the Dallas Stars. But the Edmonton Oilers do provide the best opportunity to win the cup.
I did say
for a Canadian team.
Yeah. I did say that, whoever Dallas plays out of these two, the Canucks Stars, it should be a pretty, not, I want to say easy game, but it's that's their easiest matchup, and that could hurt them a little bit because, like I said, I think Colorado's a better Edmonton, in my opinion. You might say they're the same, but for me, I think they're a better Edmonton. They went through them. Right, I understand Nichushkin went out, but even before that, before he went out, they were kind of destroying them. They choked game 1. It would have been over in 5 even, or a sweep. And if you go to Vegas, they had to come back. So they are battle tested, which we'll see how the health is. Let's see what Roope Hintz is like. That's the biggest question mark. If he's healthy, I don't see a huge chance for Edmonton to win it. I think it's 80-20 for me. I'm giving high odds just because their depth is insane. They're not going to play like the Canucks. They have Ottinger in net. I understand Ottinger's struggles when it's the higher it went, especially
deeper in the playoffs.
But I think the Chris Tanev addition, what he did against the Vegas top line and the Colorado top line was massive, right? You saw.
Yeah, obviously.
That's going to happen here. And that's my point. They saw what the Canucks did to McDavid. McDavid had 3 pointless games. Game 7 wasn't won because of McDavid.
That's true. That is true.
It wasn't won because of McDavid. He had 0 points. Yes, he was on the ice for the power play goal and maybe the Bouchard-Hyman goal, but he didn't really have a big impact. Draisaitl was the best offensive player. If you were to Conn Smythe right now for them, it's Draisaitl and Bouchard, then McDavid probably, based on how these. I'm elevating.
Okay, it's Draisaitl and McDavid. Bouchard's third.
Yeah, but
it's still McDavid.
The Canucks series, it's Draisaitl, Bouchard, and then McDavid. If I'm basing off the Canucks series
alone, yeah.
Adding LA, yeah, I agree with you. But I'm just saying, I'm basing the further you go, it's gonna get tougher, right? So Dallas just needs to be careful of just thinking this mentally they cannot think this is an easy matchup, just because this is gonna be their easiest matchup, and a team coming off 7. Because at the end of the day, you still have McDavid and you still have Draisaitl and you have firepower from the back end now with Bouchard and Ekholm, and I don't think Peter DeBoer will let them do that. And I don't think especially guys like Jamie Benn and Joe Pavelski will let them do even.
So
that's gonna be their downfall.
Okay. So here's the thing. I agree and disagree with you in some sense. I agree with you that this series is not a toss-up. It's not a 50-50.
Yeah.
But I also do disagree with the fact that it's an 80-20, right? Do I believe that Dallas is going to win?
70-30 for me, I guess.
Yes. Do I think Dallas should win? Yes. But the way you sounded out, especially with the 80-20, kind of felt like you're sleeping on the Oilers.
70.
But now, the Dallas Stars are the dominant team. I agree with you. Dallas Stars are facing their weakest team. And it's obviously they're a tough team. The Oilers are a tough team.
Yeah.
But compared to Colorado, compared to Edmonton, the Oilers are a step lower. So the Dallas Stars have been battle tested. The Dallas Stars should win. And they're also the rested team as well. I know they've played 13 games so far. So are the Edmonton Oilers, but the Dallas Stars played lesser games. Actually, Oilers played 12. But the Dallas Stars, are on like the 3-4 day rest where the Oilers will be on, what is it, Monday, they play Thursday. So they're on a 2-day rest where the Dallas Stars probably on like a 4-day rest, 4 or 5 day rest.
So it's a rest-rust question for the first.
But I think a 4 or 5 day rest is, beneficial. If it's like 6-7, that's when I believe rust will come in.
It's beneficial for a guy like Chris Tanev, for sure.
And who hints?
I'll look at his status right now, but
overall, like I said, Dallas can roll all four lines. Dallas can get scoring from all 4 lines. The Edmonton Oilers can get scoring from only 2 lines, and sometimes 1 if they're really desperate, where they have to put McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman all in 1 line.
So how does Edmonton win this series? If they were to win this series,
look, they're still gonna get their offense.
Yeah,
right. They're still gonna get as much offense.
Power plays, draw penalties.
Power plays, draw.
But the power play did struggle the last couple of games. To be fair,
drawing penalties is gonna be key. Right, Dallas cannot take penalties at all. It's kind of similar to Colorado. They can't afford to take penalties because you can't have McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar all on this ice at the same time. You can't have McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Hyman all at the same time, essentially. So I don't think it's going to be tougher, for sure, for the Edmonton Oilers. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But their offensive production, I don't believe is going to drop by that much either. Right? They're just that good offensively. That's how they're built. Right? When you have the 2 best players in the world, essentially, you're going to get your offensive chances. You're going to get scoring chances. But overall, it's going to be, the question mark is, what's going to happen when they're off the ice? Right? What's going to happen when McDavid, Draisaitl are off the ice?
Yeah, because
that's when Dallas has an opportunity to pounce.
Yeah, because that's where their depth struggled against Vancouver. Yeah, even though McDavid may have done much, Hyman scored, RNH scored. We had 1 goal from a Vancouver.
Okay, Edmonton got lucky that the Canucks' depth sucked as well.
Yeah.
Right? That's where we thought the Canucks could win. They did not win the death battle. They were just, honestly, Edmonton kind of low-key won the death battle, especially in Game 7. But
Dallas' depth is
next level. Right? Like Duchesne and Dadonov are like your second and third line setters, essentially. You got Wyatt Johnson coming out of nowhere, right? Who's been the best player for the Dallas Stars so far in terms of forwards. Stankoven, again, a young guy who's been absolutely killing it.
Rupe Hintz is day-to-day, and Hakanpää is day-to-day. Those are the status. And then for Henrique is day-to-day.
So the Edmonton depth is really going to need to step up this series, right? Last series, they got away with it. But this series, they can't get away with it.
No.
So in order for Edmonton Oilers to win this series, it's simple. McDavid and Draisaitl have to play the best hockey of their life.
Yeah.
AKA just be McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yes.
The Dallas Stars are going to win this series by, obviously, don't take stupid penalties and just do what you've been doing in terms of, your production has been good from every single line and deep pairings and your goaltending, right? You get production all across your roster, you're going to win.
Yeah, so like for me, it's like Edmonton wins the series. It's either McDavid has to pop off. Now he can't do what he did in the Canucks.
They both have to pop off.
Yeah, they both have to pop off.
With the hype.
Or you could have regular season McDavid, Draisaitl with help with the depth. Right, McLeod struggled this whole playoffs. Right, he was literally Mikheyev. He's their Mikheyev. Right, he struggled a lot. Guys like Warren Fogle need to step up and all that stuff. Right, so ultimately the only way Edmonton wins is Stuart Skinner cannot do what he did in the first couple of games against Vancouver.
They need a game for LA Stuart Skinner.
Yeah.
If McDavid and Draisaitl are not going to pop off, that's the Stuart Skinner you need.
Yeah. But it's still a lot to ask, so let's getting into prediction time. I'm going Dallas Stars in 6 games. I think, again, the rest will help them a little bit. I say maybe the first game might be a rest-rust situation, so they might give up that game like they did last time. But outside of that, like they have the depth pieces. They have the pieces to slow down McDavid. They have a blueprint to slow down McDavid and watching the Canucks, even Draisaitl in that sense. Chris Tanev is there. Jake Ottinger's a better goalie than Artur Shilov, so you're not going to be able to get the long shots.
Shilov.
And, I think overall, I think this is Dallas' team. I'm also riding with my...
Dallas' year.
Dallas' year, sorry. And this is like I'm going to ride with my prediction for the beginning of the year. And, so at the end of the day, I think just the way the second round went, I'm not as confident in the Oilers to beat Dallas, because if the Oilers dominated the Canucks, even if it went 7 games, it dominated. It was just like how the Canucks Vegas series went. I would have easily said it would have been like a 7-gamer, right? I'm giving it 6 games because I'm giving respect to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and even Evan Bouchard in this case, and the Stars have shown to blow leads. So because of that, I'm gonna give the Stars. I'm picking the Dallas Stars to go to the Stanley Cup Finals and win in 6 games.
Firstly, I gotta apologize because we cannot mention the Edmonton Oilers without mentioning Mattias Ekholm. Ekholm, when he got traded a year and a half ago to the Edmonton Oilers, I'm like, damn, that's who I wanted the Canucks to get if the Canucks were ever in that position. Too bad we sucked so much. We were never in that position.
Yeah.
But Ekholm's a dog. He does it defensively. You know, it's clear that how much Ekholm means to this team because remember in the beginning of the year, when the Oilers were struggling, Ekholm wasn't in the lineup. When Ekholm comes back, you know, they had a few losses here and there, but after that, the head coaching change and boom, they skyrocketed. And Mattias Ekholm had shown his goal scoring in this series, scoring in the first 3 games as well. But Mattias Ekholm, perfect fit, goes, you know, with that squad. And there's no better 5 in any playoff squad right now, in my opinion, that if these 5 are on the ice, this is the best starting 5, whatever you want to call it. And Ekholm, Bouchard, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman. And that's how much Ekholm means to him. But the issue is what happens after that. What happens, you know, when they're not on the ice. And that's where the Dallas Stars punish them with the other 3 lines. You know, when Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz are not on the ice, they still have Stankoven, Johnson, Dadonov, Duchesne, Marchment, Ben, Sagan, right? I could still go on. I'm probably missing a couple pieces because that's how good they are.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I am also going to ride with my pick. I did say from the beginning of the year, beginning of the playoffs, the Dallas Stars are going to make the finals. And the Dallas Stars are going to make the Stanley Cup Finals. I agree with you again, in 6 games.
Yeah, and then on top of that, I'm going to just add on one last thing. Defensively, Miro Heiskanen, you got Chris Tanev, you have Nils Lundqvist is unplayable in this series, and he was their big-time addition last year. Instead, the young guys stepped up. Thomas Harley,
Lundell,
right? So that's where they're good. And then the question is, how is Ottinger going to be? I feel like he'll be fine, and we'll see how that goes. So let's move on to the Eastern Conference before we come back and talk about these eliminated teams. Let's talk about the series that ended. We talked about it a little bit, but it was Rangers have ended up coming back from 3-1 down or 3-0 down.
Rangers.
No, like game 6.
Oh, yeah. The Rangers were down 3-1.
3-1, come back and beat the Carolina Hurricanes in 6 games overall. 4-3 or 5-3, I guess, if you added the empty netter. I forgot what the exact score was, but
Christopher Kreider, 3rd period hat trick, and has been on an absolute tear. And has the Rangers in the second time in the last 2 years, they have beaten the Carolina Hurricanes to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. And this time, the Rangers were the favorites. The Rangers were up 3-0. And Carolina made it a scare, right? They won Game 4, they won Game 5, they had Game 6 in the bag. And, bro, Jordan Martinook probably had the greatest goal line clears I have seen in sports history.
yeah,
Because that goal line clears, yes,
half the puck was in.
it did not lead to anything. He was just sliding. He didn't slide himself.
I might get him a payday because he's a free agent.
He was just falling. Like, he fell like way before the shot even happened. So he was already sliding into the net. But that's probably one of the greatest saves I've ever seen. I don't know what's better, that save or Bobrovsky's save in round 1.
Bobrovsky's a goalie, so I'm giving him Martinook.
Yeah, I'll probably have to say that. I thought I'd seen the greatest save of this playoffs.
Yeah.
But I guess not, because Martinook takes that. But overall, again, Carolina did found their way. All they had to do was just finish, and they did find goals past Shesterkin. And Game 6, again, they just broke down defensively and just absolutely allowed Kreider to take over. There's probably a goal I think Freddie Anderson would have wanted back, but overall, the Rangers have been that dominant team in this regular season. They showed that in the playoffs. They started off 7-0, a blip in Game 4 and 5, but overall, they're right now 8-2, I believe, in these playoffs.
Yeah.
It's an incredible record so far.
Listen, they have the best goalie remaining in this playoffs. And
he's shown it. He's shown it.
They have the depth like Dallas does, in a sense, right? Like, if we got Panarin, you got Lafreniere is definitely showing that he's not a bust anymore, and it's the playoffs he's doing it in. Hedl came back in the middle of this series as well, but like even the bigger names, Zibanejad, and now you said Chris Kreider, Fox on the back end, Keandre Miller, Braden Schneider, and all these guys. I think he's playing at least, but so they have like
he is playing, obviously.
Yeah. But I'm not saying if he was injured or not. I wasn't sure.
No, he's playing.
But like they have the depth similar to what both Florida and Dallas have in a sense, right? And Yeah, I picked Carolina in 7.
You did?
I'm pretty sure I did Carolina in 7.
Oh, you did. I picked Carolina in 7 because they're my cup winner.
You kind of talked me into it. I'll say that much.
Actually,
Yeah,
I was like,
it's not you, but it was the Gensel acquisition.
and that's fair.
That's the main reason why.
And honestly, like we said, bro, these it could have easily went Carolina's way.
Yeah,
a few bounces their ways, it could have worked out. Obviously, Aho got his goal a little bit later on. I think he struggled early on in the series in terms of goal scoring. Gensel was there.
Yeah,
Gensel actually did perform really well, and they should really prioritize re-signing him in the offseason.
Yeah, we'll talk about them in a second, but later on.
He does make him a better team. But overall, the Rangers' goaltending, defense, and offensive clutchness especially was the main reasons why the Rangers are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And Chris Kreider's arguably one of the more underrated players in the league, right? Like, at 50 goals, 2 years ago? I believe 50 plus last year or 2 years ago?
I think it might have been last year. No, it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago.
Right? And they were a conference final team last year. They decided to mess up their roster a bit by adding 2 solid veterans, but not clear to what they want to play. We questioned the Peter Laviolette hiring a little bit. Clearly paid off so far, right? Because we were like, oh, what's the difference between him and Gerard Gallant? Obviously, he has the cup experience with Carolina, who he beat is his captain that he won the cup with in 2006. But yeah, no, like this Rangers team is high-powered offense, really good defensive pieces, and you have the best goalie. That's all this a recipe for success to win the cup. Their only downfall might be, if you believe in curses, they're the President's Trophy winner, and we haven't had that since I think it was like Blackhawks. Or someone like that.
2015 or 2013 Blackhawks. I don't even know.
One of those ones, yeah.
It's one of those ones. I think it was 2013.
Yeah, so we haven't had that in a while. They could be the first team to blow it. Storylines go in their favor, right? 1994. That's 30 years ago. That's when they won the cup. The way the conference finals went, they lost. The way their playoffs started, they went 7-0 before they lost the next 2 games, right? Same things happened here. They started off 7-0. And so it's kind of like writing themselves. The only difference will be that the Canucks will not be involved, if that's the case. But outside of that, like, the way it's going, if it's feeling like destiny for them, obviously we're not going to base it off destiny, but it's going to be fun because the next round will be very hard to pick and it might be easy to pick for me, but because I had the prediction already there. But
yeah, you're just going to ride with it. But the other pick is when the Florida Panthers, defeated the Boston Bruins overall in 6 games. And credit to Boston, they tried making a series, but at the end of the day, it was Florida's to lose. It's been Florida's to lose from the beginning. It's been Florida's to lose when they were up 3-1. And the Florida Panthers closed out in Game 6. Again, a lot of controversies did happen in that series, aka the goaltender interference, the Marchand injury, and the Sam Bennett not being suspended, who also did the goaltender interference. But overall, Florida Panthers were the better team. Them offensively they were absolutely better than the Bruins offensively, and then defense, Bruins were good, but you can only do so much trying to hold out all 4 lines. Again, like the Dallas Stars, the Florida Panthers can roll out all 4 lines if they need to.
Brad Marchand did return in Game 6. They were up in this game. They gave up a goal, I believe, in the second or third period, and then closing seconds, they took a play out of the Canucks and Oilers series where they gave up a goal in the last minute or 2, and it's unfortunate, but like I said, Boston was going to struggle because they have an identity, which is good, but the problem was their lack of centers and elite offensive firepower in general, but like especially the center part was going to make them struggle. And going in against a team like big and strong as Florida, and Piper Pasternak, in a way, did not have a David Pasternak.
He wasn't the greatest, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Their power play was obviously, the power play picked up in the last 2 games. That's why they won Game 5, and Game 6 was close. But their power play in general was, pretty garbage, like the Vancouver Canucks is. But shout out goes to Jeremy Swayman. Absolutely, sometimes just left on a deserted island, and he showed up. And he was absolutely incredible in this series, and absolutely incredible in the playoffs overall. And yes, they had the luxury of doing the, Swayman, Allmark switch, every game.
About that because I have a question about that.
Overall, Swayman just proved that he's the number 1 starter on this team, and he is the go-to guy for the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
And they still have the luxury, they could go regular season, they could split 40 games and make the playoffs, but when it comes to playoff time, Swayman's your guy.
moving on, let's talk about Florida and their matchup. Starting off with Florida. Like I said, one again big strong team. Not Shesterkin as a goalie. He has outside of this, the save has definitely propelled him in this playoffs. But he hasn't been like the Bobrovsky from last year's postseason run. But didn't need to be because of how good offensively they have been. Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk. Barkov did leave late in that game, right? So I got to see what his health status looks like. But with that being said, and then on the defensive side, you still have Aaron Ekblad. You have Brandon Montour, Gustav Forsling. OEL's playing minutes there. Who knows, man? OEL might be the Canucks. One guy on the Canucks payroll that will actually win a cup this year.
That'd be crazy. Yeah, OEL wins it.
Yeah, so this series is going to be fun. And it's definitely, I'm going to just say right now, it's a 7-gamer. Yes, it's no secret that I picked this Florida team to make it to the finals. Home ice is Rangers, and they have MSG behind them as well. And that's a rockin' arena for the Rangers as well. For me, yeah, I'm going to just my prediction right now, Florida in 7. Everybody knows that. And the reason why I'm going with it is just because I feel like last year's experience will help them in this run. You're the guy who keeps saying this, and I agree with you. Bobrovsky does make big clutch saves.
That's why he's here. That's why the Panthers are here.
Yeah.
Right? Numbers-wise, yes, there are some games where, he had an 8.95 save percentage type of thing. But there are a lot of games where he had over 900. Bobrovsky has been as excellent. Yes, would I say Bobrovsky last year was better than this Bobrovsky? I would say that. He was better last year.
Yeah.
Would I say he's goddamn near close? 100%. Because the saves that this guy makes when his team needs it most is absolutely incredible. It's absolutely larceny because there are full-blown robberies every single time. And you don't expect a goaltender to make that save. And I think the numbers were a little bit skewed in terms of Bobrovsky's, especially in the Tampa series. And because the Tampa Bay Lightning, there were some games where they didn't even get much shots off.
Yeah.
Right? There were 20 shots barely, and they had 2 goals. Obviously, that's going to drop the save percentage a lot more. But when it comes down to it, Sergei Bobrovsky will go toe-to-toe with Igor Shesterkin. And there is no clear goaltending advantage in this series at all. Obviously, the edge, if you were to pick one, would be Shesterkin. But these 2 goalies are really good. And when their team needs it most, they make the save.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's tough to go either way, right? I'm interested to see how you're gonna view it, just because I'm riding with what I'm saying, but on the flip side, Florida's shown some vulnerabilities as well. I think the way Rangers win this series is they got to take the lead early, right? Yes, they've shown the ability to come back, but like we said, Bobrovsky's a clutch save player. We've seen, I think it was Ekblad who made that one diving save at the end of Game 6. Right before otherwise Boston could have tied that, right? Whether we don't know what Bobrovsky would have gone or not, but at least he made that save with his leg sliding across, right? So I think the one way New York wins this series is they gotta take the lead for sure. But again, and then Florida wins this, just keep doing what they're doing, essentially. Not right?
Yeah, okay, so this is the thing, right? Florida has shown the ability to come back in these games. So have the Rangers. The Rangers have been the more dominant. They have played a little bit more cleaner than the Florida Panthers. But the Florida Panthers had tougher competition, right? Tampa Bay Lightning are a much better team than the Washington Capitals. And then obviously Carolina edges out Boston. But overall, when you're looking at both teams combined, Florida has had the tougher path to this conference finals. And I don't know if this has ever been done before. I don't know who to pick. All I know is that it's going to Game 7. And I'm just going to straight up do this. Screen side is Florida. Case is Rangers.
Okay, you can't do that, man.
It's the Rangers.
You can't do that. Okay, give an actual reason.
All right, luck says Rangers. Going into this, I was gonna pick the Rangers.
Okay,
right, Rangers in 7.
So if that said Florida, you gonna stick with Florida?
What do you mean?
If that had flipped to Florida?
No, I had Rangers.
Okay.
Right, I had Rangers, but this case confirmed it now. Right, it landed on the case side. You guys are not gonna be able to see it, but the Rangers in 7, they have been the better playoff team. They have been, overall, they just have been the cleaner team. They beat a cup contender. They beat my cup favorite. Maybe that comes into play. You beat my contender. I pick you as a new contender. And the New York Rangers have shown no signs of slowing down in this playoffs. And same goes with the Florida Panthers. It's a toss-up. Like, legit, you can't argue with me if I did a coin toss and did it. The only reason I'm freaking, doing this because you really made me to. But I'm just kidding. Like, I had the Rangers. I'll just say that for sure. But it is a coin toss. And this confirmed it for me.
Yeah, no,
Say that.
I expect this series to be exactly what the Carolina Rangers went through. So maybe that's a little bit of edge.
Well, not exactly.
No, I mean like in terms of like the battle.
Yeah.
Have those type of goon players if they play like if Matt Rempe plays, you got Jacob Trouba there on this side, you got Sam Bennett, and like what his history has been, his reputation has been. It's gonna be a feisty series. And then on top of that, like, yeah, the Rangers may have a slight edge because they faced a tougher opponent in the Hurricanes, whereas Florida did not. Right? Yeah, they got Tampa in the first round, but that's in the same Tampa. Same thing with Boston, right? So yeah, I'm riding with Florida in 7. You got Rangers in 7.
It's a toss-up. It's a coin flip. I will flip it again every single time. It's a coin flip. And essentially, like, I could give you reasons for both teams why they could win. They both could roll all 4 lines. They both have good defenses. They both have great goaltending. Overall, it's terms of this, I think, the Florida Panthers are Tyson Fury and the New York Rangers are Alexander Usyk.
Okay.
Right? But that's how close that goddamn fight was. This is how close, this playoff matchup's going to be. It's going to go the distance. And this is a one series where you're going to want to hear the 2 greatest words in sports.
Yeah.
Game 7. Right? I did not want to hear that for the Canucks because that was just too stressful. But I am going with the Rangers in 7.
All right, let's move on to some of the 4 teams that did get eliminated, right? And you want to start off with the Canucks, or do you want to go Boston backwards again?
Yeah, we'll go backwards again, starting off with the Boston Bruins. Number 1 priority, sign a center. It's simple, right? Like, there are a couple centers available. Obviously, Lindholm is going to be the biggest one.
Yeah.
And
listen,
the way that Lindholm played in the playoffs,
he should be like if I'm Lindholm, if I'm Lindholm, and if Boston wants him, I would sign there because he will probably be the 1 seed there.
Yeah, they have no other choice.
Yeah, that's why.
But overall, like, your main guys are gonna be locked up for a little bit. You have Pasta, you have Marchand, you have Coyle, you have Zaka, right? Like, those guys are capable of being Coyle and Zaka are capable of being your 2 and 3 centers, right? Their second and third line centers. And then the big guy you're going to have to bring back, in my opinion, is Jake DeBrusk. He has shown a lot of improvement as his career went along, and he is a UFA. So that's going to be one guy I think, you should re-sign. But that's also going to be, it's like a thing where, like, with caution. You got to re-sign with caution. You don't want to pay, like, Jake DeBrusk $8-9 million.
Yeah.
A $6 million, I think that's fair.
Yeah, it might be cheaper even, who knows.
Yeah, like at max, 6, 7 max, but like I would go lower for Jake DeBrusk, a lot lower, but I'll cap it out at 6 if you really want to keep him. But that'll be the one guy that I'm looking at for the off season. Obviously, defensively, you're still locked up. You have Lindholm, you have Carlo, you have McAvoy. You have your 3 main guys there. And then when it comes to goaltending, Swayman is an RFA, but obviously you can bring him.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
So my question to you is this. Do they clear cap? Now, clearly Swayman's their number 1. I understand what it was like in the regular season, how they alternated the 2, and Swayman was fresh because of that in the playoffs. But right now, I think Linus Ullmark's contract's like $4 million.
It's $5 million.
Essentially, and if Swayman, that's what he wants, it's going to be roughly...
So this is the situation. This is the situation. Swayman's an RFA. Linus Ullmark has 1 more year left, and that contract is actually $5 million.
Okay.
Which makes him...
That's like $10 million.
Which makes him
minimum.
Which makes him very expendable.
Yeah.
Which really does make him expendable, which means that you should be getting calls from a team like, the Oilers, the Devils,
the Leafs,
for Linus Ullmark. The Kings, right? Is Linus Ullmark going to be Jeremy Swayman? Is he going to be that, the main number 1 goalie for you in a playoff run? Probably not. I'll say that right now. Like, I got fooled by Korpisalo. This is honestly a similar thing to me. But it's definitely a guy that you should be getting calls on and that you should be listening to for sure. But yeah, like you said, Swayman's out. He's getting $5 million. There's no doubt about that.
And another team, let's transition to it. Carolina might need a goalie as well. Like, we don't know what Freddie Henderson's health is going to be like. He still has 1 more year remaining on his contract. But them and the Canucks, and we'll get to the Canucks later, have a lot of question marks, and the roster might be different. Because I'm going to name you their UFAs, and I'm going to name you their RFAs, and they will say what's priority, what not. Before I go into that, though, they figured out their head coaching situation. Rod Brindamore and the coaching staff will be back 5 more years. I feel like that's the right decision. There might be some tweaks they need to make on the offensive side of why they keep struggling in the playoffs, but we'll find out if it's based on some of these players. So here are their UFAs. Brendan Lemieux, Jake Gensel, Jordan Martinook, Stefan Neeson, Teuvo Teravainen, he has one more year. Dmitry Orlov and Jakub Slavin have one more year, and Slavin's a big one. Rem Burns there. UFA here, Jalen Chatfield, who's been good for them, former Canuck. Tony DeAngelo, Brett Pesce, Brady Shea. Those last two are big ones in the defense.
For sure, yeah. Especially Brady Shea as well.
And then on top of that, like I said, you have Slavin as a UFA remaining and Orlov as a UFA remaining. One more year.
Orlov they're getting rid of. They might even try getting rid of
True.
this year.
That's fine, right?
That's a massive contract.
That's UFA alone. Wait till the RFAs. So RFA here, Maxime Comtois, Jack Drury.
Maxime Comtois, damn. He's a
Seth Jarvis.
He's a Canuck.
I don't remember.
Comtois, I swear he was a Canuck.
We'll talk about that later. Seth Jarvis.
Okay, so
he's been arguably their best player all year.
Seth Jarvis is RFA?
RFA.
Ooh, that's...
Morton Natchez.
Natchez as well, yes.
Ryan Suzuki. And on the other side, you have Dylan Coughlin on the defensive end. Where's the RFA?
All right, so a lot of question marks. Obviously, the priorities do go to the RFAs. But they should focus on the RFAs, but, it's also a luxury that they are restricted. But in terms of UFA side, Jake Gensel needs to be re-signed.
Yeah.
He makes your squad a better offensive squad. And he's a guy who will get goals for you. He's a guy who's experienced, perfect guy to have, on a playoff roster. And you guys are a playoff roster. I would try to trade Orlov and try to get off that contract. But overall, Orlov has also shown that, he could be a really good defenseman. I think number one priority is obviously Jake Gensel. Then obviously trying to get your RFAs back. Natchez might. I think there are rumors of Natchez being, wanting out as well. But I'm not sure how true they are.
Which is fine.
Seth Jarvis has to come back.
Seth Jarvis has to come back?
So Gensel and Jarvis, that's two guaranteed right there.
Yeah.
Or they'll see what they do with Natchez. And
Pesce shit.
Shea and Pesce have to be there as well. And then number 3, extend Jakub Slavin.
Yeah.
Because he's going to need extension. And what's their goalies looking like contract-wise?
No, you got Spencer Martin and Freddie Anderson 1 more year, and then you got Kochetkov for 3 more UFA years.
3 more UFA. Kochetkov's young. He could develop into a guy.
But he's 24.
But the way that your roster is looking out, your young squads it's not going to be. The contracts are not going to come into your favor now anymore. You can't play around the cap.
Here's your thing.
Because your young guys like freaking Jarvis and Natchez are going to be free agents, and it's going to be a lot more difficult. So
how much older do you think Dmitry Orlov is than some of those defensemen I said?
Orlov?
Yeah. How old do you think Dmitry Orlov is right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
31.
Okay, well, I thought you were going to say on the older side.
No, I don't think
he's 32.
Yeah.
Jakub Slavin's 30.
Yeah.
Brady Shea is 30. And Brett Pesce's 29.
Yeah, the defense is solid.
But they are on the older side. They're UFA, so they're probably looking for term and AV, especially term.
Yeah, so it's basically even more tougher.
So, and they're all UFA, so you don't have much of a say there, right? I don't know what their prospect pipeline is looking like, right? So there's the situation there. And then UFA on this side, again, I agree with you. He needs to be a priority, Gensel. But he's also 29 himself.
He's 30, essentially.
Yeah, right? Seth Jarvis is 22. You need to get that done ASAP.
Yeah.
Jordan Martinook is 31. Stefan Neeson's 31. Teuvo Teravainen is 29. We don't know what these guys want in contracts. We'll see, because, we'll transition to the Canucks in a second here, but it's going to be interesting for sure. And this GM is very smart with how he does his money moves.
It's a big offseason. And it will be an offseason that, you might see a lot of change in terms of, the Carolina Hurricanes have not been successful. They could be screw you, Teravainen, you're gone. Screw you, Brady Shea, you're gone. We're going to make changes, right?
Cap, I don't know how much is going up. They have currently $27 million in cap.
But cute
in cap space.
A lot of pieces that that need to be not a lot, but at least there's 4 or 5 guys that would be okay, you got to bring them back.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, like you said, she is 30. Their defense is really old in terms of I won't say really old, but very experienced, and if that would be the better terms.
Yeah.
But overall, their core is still locked up, right? Once you get Jarvis back, we'll see what to do with Natchez. I'm actually really curious because I don't know if how true those rumors are gonna be. If Natchez wants out, that could be a good trade piece because obviously he's restricted. But yeah, Carolina Hurricanes, we could see a much different roster. I'm not saying a worse roster, but I definitely could see a different roster.
All right, let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks.
No, we gotta talk about the Avalanche because we gotta save the Canucks for the end.
Okay.
We gotta save our team for the end. Avalanche. You have Landeskog locked up, obviously. Hopefully he's healthy. Rantanen, McKinnon, all these guys. Although Rantanen has one more year. This is Rantanen's last year, so he's gonna need an extension. And Rantanen's still only 27. Right, so that's pretty young.
That's younger than I thought.
Cale McCarr, obviously Devon Tays, they were both locked up. Samuel Girard locked up. Josh Matson.
Much.
But here's where it gets a little bit. You know, your trade acquisition, Casey Middlestat, is a free agent. You know, Jonathan Drouin and then Sean Walker, you know, they're free agents in terms of, you know, depth pieces. But defensively, they're fine. Like, they have their 4 main guys locked up. The question for the Colorado Avalanche is how they're going to add offensive firepower in their depth. And obviously the goalie is Georgiev's last year, and we'll see what happens there. I don't think Georgiev is the issue. I thought Georgiev performed really well in these playoffs in general.
You need after a backup. Let's just say that he can't be playing like how much he has played.
Yeah, no, he's like up there in wins every year.
Yeah. So they need a solid backup. Maybe it's a Casey DeSmith for them. Who knows? My question is, so Nichushkin's suspended without pay. I think that shouldn't affect the cap, and they're most likely going to buy him out. Or, like, I don't know how. But this buyout isn't like OEL buyout, right? This buyout is because of outside of the ice issue.
Nichushkin has 6 years left on his contract.
So that's something I need to look at.
6 years by $6 million.
Yeah,
as well.
He signed an 8-year deal. That's why.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago, right?
But overall, like, I would say. Actually, no, not Mill. My bad. On Mill. Millstat's a UFA. Not a UFA. He's an RFA.
Yeah.
Right, because
I think they have to bring Middlestat.
Oh yeah, bring Middlestat back. You locked up your 2C. Hopefully, Landeskog comes back healthy. You have your top line, the best line in hockey. You know, back next year. Defensively, you're perfectly fine. Goaltending, I think, will get the job done again.
Yeah.
Again, issue was when Kadri left. Who's going to fill the Kadri void? Middlestat has the potential to do that, but there are also a lot of other pieces. Like, you know, Burakovsky was essential in that cup run they had as well. You know, getting pieces like that to help them out to round out this roster, the Colorado Avalanche will be back in cup contention.
Team's got to figure out what they got to do, right? Because the Lightning realized what their mistake was, and they made a trade today, which was bring back Ryan McDonough, and Nashville is not retaining anything. Ryan McDonough had a great offseason. This isn't postseason, even a season in general.
Yeah.
It's gonna kind of go into a Canucks conversation, like if Nashville should go all in or not. Clearly, they sold high, right, on McDonough. The trade was it's Ryan McDonough and a 2024 4th round pick to Tampa for a 2025 2nd rounder and a 2024 7th round pick. So obviously,
keep in mind,
a little bit of a cap dump.
Keep in mind, didn't they get like 5 seconds or something for like Tanner Janor, like 4 seconds,
something like that,
or something like that too, right?
So teams already making moves. He's 35, but again, like Chris Tanev is gonna be expensive, right?
Yeah,
we know that,
that's true.
And he's up there in age as well. But we saw he's getting better with age. Like
that's crazy.
Like we don't drink wine, but it's like the aging like fine wine is the saying they say, right? So yeah, it's interesting to see like Colorado. I just want to wonder how they deal with the whole Nichushkin situation and how much does that open up the cap?
It just straight up the question mark is, all right, number 1 priority, re-sign
Casey Middlestat.
Number 2,
find a backup goalie or a new goalie.
I would say that's number 3. Number 2, just get depth.
Yeah.
Get depth. I could still live with Georgiev being 60 games, 60 games starter, but I cannot live without, you know, 0 production as if I'm an Avalanche fan.
Yeah.
I would be pissed off if like we get a backup goalie over depth score. I'd rather have the depth scoring.
All right. Let's get into the Canucks. We're going to look at it in 2 ways. We're not going to try to make this a whole Canucks thing for the next 30 minutes. We're going to try to keep it quick as you possibly can, maybe 10 minutes at most. First off, what went wrong? We already talked about it earlier. It was just the injuries, PD struggling. The depth didn't step up as much as we thought it would. First playoff experience for a lot of these guys. first playoff experience that's non-bubble for a lot of these guys. I'm going to make that clear. I think JT Miller is like one of the few guys. Ian Cole, obviously. Lindholm has had playoff experience, but out of the main core, none of them had non-bubble experience, right? With the travel, with the fan. So when we're talking about a fan's perspective, what it means. Overall, like how Talkett said.
We'll just say this much. We'll start off with this question, and obviously, like I feel like this is going to allude to this conversation with a spat experience. I'm just going to ask it, but you already know the answer. Was the season a success? And
wait, by just political terms, no, because they
but like overall as a fan experience, especially what Talkett said in the press.
Okay, so like, I'll say it. Yes, the season was a success because many people had them either missing the playoffs or, like us, wildcard spot at the very minimum, right? They exceeded that. They almost won the conference, even the President's Trophy. They were in that race for a while. Ended up coming second overall and second or third.
Third overall, yeah.
But either way, way higher.
Won the division.
So that's number one. Number two, they, like Talkett said, they brought the joy, the players, the coaching staff, etc., to the fan base. Whether it be, like, think about it. We have cousins, younger cousins, mainly Jeevan and his family, that did not experience 2011. Right? They experienced 2020, but that's a different. I'm talking about proper
2011.
2011, they were either not born or they were super young, right? So they don't remember that. So you think about it. You have a lot of fans that were either that or not born, and now they're 14, 13 years old. They're teenagers. If they weren't even born, they were teenagers, right? At the very minimum, and they got fans there. You got fans that are only hopping on when they're good and give them hope.
So bandwagons.
In a way, but it's fair.
But they're honestly like
I don't blame them for paying attention to what the...
When your squad makes the playoffs, it's a whole different story.
And the city was buzzing. Yesterday, it was a struggle. I went to get food during the center intermission. Roads were empty. Everybody was obviously long weekend, but tuned in to watch the games as well. So from that part as well, business-wise, for Aguilini, it's a success, obviously, because the playoff tickets, revenue and all that.
Yeah.
But...
blasted the expenses.
But outside of
really expensive.
But outside of that, like the joy that came back into the city, the province. If you're a Canucks fan, it was amazing. They were good this year, also amazing. So yeah, that way success. The expectations, they blew them through the roof. They got 5 All-Stars, the 6th one they acquired, the 7th one being their coach, and then on top of that, you got award finalists in like the Norris. You have the probable Norris winner. You have a Vezina finalist. You have the probable Jack Adams winner. And then a couple of other minor awards that they were part of. JT Miller was a 100-point scorer. Quinn Hughes was a 90-point scoring defenseman. So on and so forth.
Leading defenseman scorer as well.
Yeah. So fan side of things, everything worked out. Now, and I'm sure you agree with everything what I said. So just to save time.
Yeah, 100%.
That being said, though, we could look at it two ways. We thought the same thing with Manchester United last year. It was a shit show the other way.
So here's the question now. Can this success roll into next season?
So that's what I'm saying. It's easy to say, like how the players after the game said, like, we got the necessary experience, now we'll be good for next year. The problem is, I'm going to name those names now. The roster will not be the same. Similar to Carolina, you have one more year of UFA, Brock Besser, and we don't know what's happening with his status, with his case. But Teddy Bluger, UFA, you would like to bring back, probably. Dakota Joshua, you probably like to bring back. Sam Lafferty, expendable, sure. Maybe on a cheap deal. Elias Lindholm, who was once, trade this guy for Jake Gensel, or
trade him right away.
Do not bring him back, or Kuzmenko's way better. Why did we trade him? Like, dumbasses didn't know his value until the playoffs came. Now he's like on top of the list. Going on to that, Ian Cole, say what you want about the Edmonton series. The veteran presence, he'll probably come back on a...
he's going to be a cheap deal.
Cheap deal, but he was still really good in the first round. All right? Tyler Myers, who was like, get out of this... The founders was like, get him out of here, to now, the way he played in the playoffs, might price himself out. If he wants to cash out, if he really wants to prioritize living here, he will. I would bring him back because of how well he played. And the big boy himself, Nikita Zadorov. You got Casey DeSmith, as a UFA. RFAs, you have Archer Shilovs. You have Philip Hronek is the big one there. And yeah, that's it. But then if you want to look at the other side of things, you got 2 more years of Thatcher Demko, who some people might think could be expendable. You have
obviously the Brock Besser extension.
And the Brock Bessers and the Connor Garland 2 years there. So here's where my question lies. This is not Jim Benning, because we all know he would have doubled down on this for sure, right? So that's where I'm like, Sat Shaw has come out with, like, this front office is still going to be ruthless. They have no ties to really that many people. When they made a mistake, they've flipped them immediately as well. Yes, the main thing with next year is, before we talk about the signings, is what's going to be up with Elias Pettersson, right? Listen, young guy, playoff experience, wasn't much. He struggled. Don't get me wrong. He struggled since the All-Star break, let's to be exact. He did the same thing when he got his first contract a couple of years ago. He's a young guy. I'm banking on him to be a learning thing. He was the last guy off the ice, took the crowd in, and he'd be like, okay, it feels like he will work his ass off and come back. So for those of you saying trade Elias Pettersson,
that not happening. Never gonna happen. Never should happen. That simple as that.
Yeah.
Plus, in terms of, like, as of right now,
exactly.
At this moment.
Plus, on top of that, listen, I'm not absolving him from his play in the playoffs, especially.
It was brutal.
He was bad.
He was terrible.
But, and I've been saying it many, many times, who was his line mates? The minute he got paired with Lindholm and the minute he was paired with JT Miller, it was a different Elias Pettersson. He was more engaging. I get it. It was a must-win game in games.
It wasn't the best Elias Pettersson, that's for sure. But it was
showed some.
It was a different Elias Pettersson.
And I said it many, many times again, with all the star centers in the league, they have an elite winger on their line.
Or a solid ass.
Or a solid winger, like a Zach Hyman type winger on their line, right? I'm not going to go through those names. We've said it many times in the past. So that's step number one. We want to see which is the true Elias Pettersson, right? Who's the real Elias Pettersson? But going back to this is why I say it's a wasted opportunity in a sense, because the team was built to win this year. In a sense, you made those moves. And on top of that, outside of the last month of Thatcher Demko and Carson Soucy in the middle of the year, everybody was healthy. It sucked what happened with Brock Besser during the playoff run. You could tell Quinn Hughes was playing injured, but that's just a playoff lifestyle. But they were healthy for the most part. Is that going to happen next year? Are you going to have Niels Höglander score 24 goals? Is he going to turn to Jake Virtanen like how he did like that one year?
Is Connor Garland going to be that, net guard gimmick of himself where he was absolutely insane?
Exactly, right? So do you double down, or do you sell high a little bit like a Connor Garland to maybe make more cap space? Because keep in mind, the Pettersson extension is about $4 million more than his current deal. OEL's buyout. People are forgetting about the OEL buyout kicking in.
Yeah, that's going to be...
It's already kicked in, but like it's going to jump
expensive.
to $4 million, right?
It's going to get more expensive.
$4 million right there. You're probably going to get like $3-4 million cap relief. You have a lot of cap space, and based on this...
But you only have like half a roster.
So that's contract. Why, like, forgive me for being a little bit negative here, but
I'm not gonna forgive you, because I'm not gonna agree with you. But the Vancouver Canucks have blown this opportunity. This was their best chance. As simple as that. I don't think it gets any better in terms of competition.
We'll see what to do.
In terms of competition wise as well, I don't think it gets any better. I do believe that other teams are just gonna get better around them, right? The LA Kings, at the end of the day, they're a young squad, and they will figure it out. Other teams like, San Jose Anaheim, I think in a few years will be back in the mix. Who knows what Connor Bedard could carry, how he could carry the Scotland.
Let's stick with the division first.
Like, I'm just sticking to the Western Conference, so that's why you got to go
division first.
Division. Seattle Kraken, yes, they weren't great this year, but they're going to have a new head coach, and we'll see if they have the head coach mob. They could be back, right? Calgary Flames, I don't have confidence in them.
So you pretty much have a top 2 team lock in Vegas and the Oilers, right?
Essentially, yeah.
So the third division spot right now is up for grabs, but there's no promises.
You have Canucks, Oilers. You have Canucks, Kraken, Kings fighting for the third spot.
Yeah.
And who knows, Anaheim could make that jump.
Right. So that's one. And then on top of that, like on the flip side, Nashville is still there. St. Louis is still going to be there.
Yes. Minnesota, yeah.
Be there. So you have options there. Like, look, this year's Devils team was injured for the most part. They missed the playoffs completely. A lot of that was goaltending, I'll say that, but they missed. Kraken missed this year. A lot of people thought they were going to make the playoffs. I wasn't one of them, but you were pretty high on them, and that's...
I thought they were going to make the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah, right? So, is it going to be a lock for them to make the playoffs? No. Do I think they will and they have the core to do it? Yes, because listen, JT Miller... again, he's a year older now. How is he gonna fare for next year? Rick,
is this the best JT Miller we've seen this year?
Yeah.
Is it regression time for him? We don't know. He's age 30 now.
Rick Tocchet, who was in charge of the power play, and the power play was dreadful. So maybe he needs to hire a specialist for it. But you have the Sedin sitting up there. But so there are a lot of question marks here, and we mentioned these names here. How are they going to prioritize?
And this is why this was a massive opportunity blown by the Vancouver Canucks. And who do we prioritize here? I think the number one priority in this list is going to be Nikita Zadorov still.
But okay, let me cut you off.
In terms of
Montreal Finals, Ben Sherratt was amazing. Gets a massive contract, I think, with Detroit. Is it Detroit?
Was it? Yeah, I think it was.
I'll double check, but and hasn't been great. So these guys do bank on, but
we're looking at this, right? Like Ben Sherratt hasn't been great because he didn't fit with Detroit, right? The reason why Ben Sherratt was brought into Detroit so he could play with Mo Seider. He didn't fit with Mo Seider. That's the issue. But what I'm saying is we're saying about re-signing, right? If Ben Sherratt stayed in Montreal, I think Ben Sherratt would be a better player than today's Ben Sherratt. I'll say that much right now, right? If you're looking at, you got to give a better example of, a guy who re-signs and, that's a better example. I don't think the Sherratt example is a good example.
Ben Sherratt wanted to get paid. Zadorov won 6x6.
Or you let him go. But I'm just talking about, if you're talking about roster construction, okay, here's the thing. With Jim Benning, what he didn't do in 2020 after the bubble, he just prioritized the wrong guys.
Yeah.
Right? Tanev and Toffoli were willing to come back. He just didn't look at him.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, I'm talking about people you're going to look at. You're going to look at Zadorov. That's the number one person you're going to look at. Right after, behind him, you're going to look at Lindholm. I'm not saying you give him the contract if they want $6-7 million. Hell no. You can't afford that.
Yeah.
But who do you prioritize? Jim Benning did not prioritize the right guys. The guys you got to prioritize are Zadorov and Lindholm right now at the moment.
Now, unfortunately, they're going to only get one of them.
Yes, that's just how it's gonna work. But I'm just saying,
this is where I'm happy with Jim and Patrick, Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin, because they're not Jim Benning.
Right? Yeah,
like Satyar Shah said on his tweet, on his show, that they might be ruthless. They might not even bring anybody back, and they might go Gensel or go big game hunting themselves because they saw what this team is able to do. Maybe they trade Demko. I don't know. I hope not. Right, but Demko has shown injury concerns.
I don't think that's happening this offseason.
But what I'm saying is, if his value is high, Artur Shilov's gonna show something. I wouldn't. I'm saying I wouldn't.
You don't.
I'm saying I wouldn't.
Yeah, no.
I'm just saying there is a question mark in the fan base.
If that offer doesn't include freaking, I'm assuming Devils, a freaking, who's their young guys, all the young guys essentially for the Devils. Freaking Simone Nemec and all these guys, right? Another stud player that could play a Jesper Bratt, with a Simone Nemec and all. I'm putting the phone down. Demko's staying on this roster unless you get absolutely overpaid.
Question out there is what I'm saying.
A lot of questions are out here for the Vancouver Canucks.
I'm saying it. I'm not agreeing with it.
A lot of questions are out there for the Vancouver Canucks. Goaltending is not one of them. So it's just simple as that. We're ending the conversation with goaltending.
Yeah, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm just voicing.
Don't put it out there because it might actually happen.
So you're exactly my point,
so
right?
Stop putting in the universe.
Right. Anyways, that's out there, right? So the question, like I said, I believe this team should be back with this core, with this coaching staff. I agree with that. It just depends on what Mikheyev. They're probably gonna do everything they can to trade Mikheyev.
Please, yeah, they have to.
But is Connor Garland gonna be the same this way? Do you cash on him to get traded?
So
bank on him and do it again, or do you sell high?
Here's the thing with Garland. All right, okay, here's the comparison. Core is Miller, PD, Besser, and obviously we're talking about this USA. Hughes, Demko. I'm fully confident that these guys could carry us back into the playoffs. I'm not sure with that. Same with Carolina. I'm fully confident Carolina's core put them back into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The issue is what surrounds them, right? And that's a big part. And to get the best out of Garland, Lindholm and Joshua have to be there.
Or Bluger. So Bluger.
Or Bluger as well. But Joshua has to be there, right? The issue, here's my one issue with Joshua. Because you couldn't get that winger with PD, essentially the Lindholm, Joshua, and Garland became your second line. And Joshua is a top 6 winger. Joshua is not a top 6 winger.
So that's my point.
He's nowhere near.
Realize if they want to get the highest value out of PD, you need to, at the minimum, Toffoli. At the minimum.
Yeah.
Right? So Does that, like, listen, if I were the Canucks, I'm prioritizing Zadorov, Lindholm, Joshua, Bluger,
Yeah.
Myers, right?
Yeah.
We still didn't mention Philip Hronek. If he wants $8 million, I'm trying to trade him away, try to get another cheaper right shot demon. I think Tanev is priced out unless he wants to come on a cheaper deal, right? Myers might be on a cheaper deal, so I'm fine with that. You get someone to like how they what they did really well is stopgaps, right? The thing with the Canucks next year is you also gotta hope. I said all the other things. Is all that gonna happen? Like all these players are gonna step up. The other thing is some of these guys are gonna walk away. Arshdeep Bains, Vasily Podkolzin, Linus Karlsson, Niels Oman on a regular basis. These guys need to step up. Podkolzin especially needs to step up with what Höglander did, right? Höglander may decline. Höglander may be better. Höglander may stay the same, right? But at the end of the day, these four guys that I mentioned who they're trying to believe him in the young side, Max Sasson, right? These guys someone from the AHL side needs to step up because we don't know what's happening with Jeremy Colleton either. He might not even be the coach next year. So that's another big this development stuff that's going to be gone. So next year's it's going to be the Canucks and Carolina Hurricanes are going to be an interesting offseason. Canucks, obviously, we are spending a little bit more time because that's the team that we follow, and we shouldn't be doing this as a podcast. But
I know as well.
But it's gonna be. It's not easy to say for fans to say, "Oh, they'll be back next year," because there's a lot of question marks.
It is not.
And even after this, when the final buzzer sounded, horn sounded, me and you were like, "Great season. We were proud. They brought passion back into the city." But we don't want that passion to be gone immediately like Manchester United did.
There's a reason why we were hella depressed yesterday. It's because we know that there's very much an opportunity that this might not happen next year.
Yeah.
Right. And that is very true. Right. It's a different story if you're a Oilers fan getting eliminated. Right. Like if I was an Oilers fan, I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry, we're back next year. Yes, obviously,
make some moves here and there.
Make some moves here and there. Don't get me wrong. Don't stay complacent like the Leafs do every year and become insane.
Yeah.
But
okay, never mind. It was Berube I was gonna say, but
I don't shout out to Berube. You got a new job. We'll talk about that more next time. But I can't say that for the Vancouver Canucks. I genuinely can't as a Canucks fan. And yeah, you might hate on me for that, but you gotta get your head straight and think about it because this squad is gonna be different next year, right?
For the better.
It could be better. Don't get me wrong. It could be worse, but it's gonna be different. And don't get me wrong, right? I know Hronek. Nobody's gonna pay Hronek $8 million in this organization or this city, or nobody on their brain cells in this fan base is gonna want Hronek for $8 million. Yeah. But Hronek's gonna be a big hole to fill still.
Yeah.
Right. Because what Hronek did this year was absolutely incredible. You gotta give credit to what he did, and he provided, Hughes support. He provided another guy who could, move the puck up well. And not all the pressure's on Hughes to drive play from the defensive side.
Yeah, so
Hronek had the capabilities of doing that too.
That's where you need a stopgap a little bit until Willander is ready. Lekkerimäki, I think, needs at least half a season in the AHL before he makes
a lot of unnecessary pressure is going to be on the Lekkerimäki.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and they don't have the picks this year, first and second round picks to make any trades if they need to, right? So there's, just to make a long story short here, it may not be the same. It might be for the better. They might not even bring anybody back and use that cap space. They may create and bring in slightly better players, right? I still think they have a good top two lines. Figure out if they bring back Bluger.
But what are the two lines?
The Miller line and Petey, I'm hoping, right?
Well, just Petey. It's not a line, really.
Well, yeah, but again, it's going to be a lot different. Yes, we're excited for the future because it's Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin and that staff. I love our development staff. Yes, I hope we get a decent replacement for Jeremy Colleton, who might take the San Jose job or take an assistant coach job somewhere. Because he probably deserves an NHL opportunity.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it.
But yeah, there's a lot of question marks to fill. You need a lot of young guys to step up. The only question mark that's failed really is Artur Shilov should be the backup next year, as long as Thatcher Demko's healthy, and hopefully they limit the starts of Demko as well.
Would you bring back to Smith for that mill?
I would. But it's not my priority.
Yeah, obviously,
right.
If you could just do it for fun, bring back to Smith for a mill. But if not, obviously don't spend a mill right away. Just come back for a mill.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be your first move. I'll say that.
But yeah, so from a Canucks standpoint, like I said, it was a fun series. We might drop a video.
Fun season.
But I'm excited for the future, and I have faith for the future. I'm gonna say that if this was Ben, we would have been sitting here like, damn, or this organization's gone to hell next.
So here's the thing, like, just to wrap up, especially what I said, because yes, we
kind of went all over the.
We came out negative, but overall, I do believe this team should be back in the playoffs next year. I just can't 100% guarantee that, as you know, I can for other teams.
This current core, there's minor adjustments. There could be a couple.
Current core
and everything.
Current coaching staff. The expectation
with a little bit of
the expectation is to come back. Obviously, every team needs a little bit of injury luck, but like I said, current core, current staff, you should be back. Am I 100% confident? No. There are a lot of moves, a lot of question marks. But are you confident in the front office? 100%. Because they have roles filled out, right? They have someone looking, like they have a person dedicated to the cap. Like that's huge. They didn't have that before. There's a reason why they stunk before. And actually, managed to do something this year. And I have full faith that they'll be able to pull off an absolute amazing offseason and, set this team up for another postseason success. Hopefully bring a Stanley Cup, make a cup final run.
Yeah, so we'll end it a little bit there. As Jovan alluded to earlier, Craig Berube is a Toronto Maple Leafs coach. Let's see what they do with their roster. We'll talk about them a little bit later, maybe next episode or more in the offseason to see how that goes. But yeah, overall, fun season as Canucks fans. There's still good playoff hockey going to be happening to watch. So we hope everybody enjoys. Playoff basketball is going to be a thing. Listen, June's going to be fun. You got Euros, you got Copa America, you got the Olympics coming up as well. So it's still going to be, sports-wise, going to be fun. And yeah, from a Canucks fan standpoint, let's see what they do next year. And overall, comment your guys' predictions down below. Who's your Stanley Cup finalist this year? What else?
All right, comment down below who your Stanley Cup final predictions are. Comment down below your cup winner as well.
Conn Smythe winner, everything.
Conn Smythe winner. Comment down below if you agree with us on the Canucks takes or not.
Or any of the teams' takes.
Yeah, any of the teams' take. But like, let's just say of your fans, like whoever your support. Obviously, there's a lot of Canucks fans in, who watch this videos in our algorithm. But overall, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching this pod.
Rate, download, review. Rate, download, and review the audio podcast. We appreciate you guys as well. Follow our socials, link down below. We are YouTube partner now, so make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. We'll give you more info once we kind of set everything up for potential future stuff. All right, well, we do a little behind the scenes business partner meeting here to see what we need to do. But no, we appreciate you guys once again, and hit that post noti bell for the next NBA episode that will be dropping with the conference finals going on over there as well, and check out the NBA conference finals predictions in the last episode. Other than that, we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.